think a lot of people have certain feelings about it because it's about Facebook, but it's really not about Facebook at all.
It's not a movie about a website. Yes, that is one of the elements of it, but it's about number 5 or 6 on the list of what this movie's actually about.
The thing that grabbed me was that there are elements in this story that are as old as storytelling itself, of friendship and loyalty, jealousy, class, power, betrayal.
There is no reason on a shot like this ever to have a boom shadow. Ever. For any reason at all.
Won't happen again.
At its best, the movie is about really big things, and it's about kind of modern ambition, within this kind of old business world.
It's about quite a lot of things, I suppose. Social interaction, a lawsuit primarily. I mean, it's about a big war.
You better lawyer up, asshole, because I'm not coming back for 30%. I'm coming back for everything.
It could be about the invention of television, or it could be about the creation of this camera. And what it really is about two friends and something that's amazing that they create that ultimately ends up breaking their friendship.
The Winklevoss twins are saying you stole their idea.
I have to be mildly annoying.
They find it to be property theft. Why didn't you show this
It was
to me?
addressed to me.
They're saying that we stole the Facebook from Divya and Narendra.
I know what it says.
Did we?
Okay, alright, okay, my first note about the scene is I don't buy his, I like the shorter one, what were their names? I find it to be a little...
We had 3 weeks of rehearsal, which was a great luxury, and that rehearsal was sitting around a table, reading through the scenes, talking about the scenes.
I'm CEO, bitch. I don't know how that connects. To me, it feels oddly like a dangling participle here.
Okay, if we only hear that once, which we do earlier, is that enough for the payoff at the end?
I think so.
Okay.
When it only came up once, I was making a bigger to-do about it.
So you think we can land it only doing it once?
I think so.
Okay, great.
Does it make sense, David, to like the water in the Golden Gate Bridge is freezing cold?
Yeah, okay, whatever.
$1 billion valuation in all the ice cream you can eat.
I don't like all the ice cream.
Right.
You?
The $1 billion valuation to me is the best frame to watch.
Yeah, I feel like I spoke maybe 3 times during the 3-week rehearsal period because the rehearsals were less about like rehearsing the scenes or coming up with blocking or something like that. It was more about just like discussing the story as a whole or I was interested to see how David was so focused on finding what was behind each word in the script and why it was there.
I want to get through this fashion thing a little bit.
All right, let's do the fashion thing first.
Okay, so I'm just saying you cut one of the fashions. What fashion? Fashion's never finished.
It won't be finished at the point. Wait, fashion's never finished.
What? Fashion's never finished. You're
Okay, so cut that fashion.
Really
Hang on, cut that fashion.
That's right.
Yeah.
But then you're on set for 70-something days, and, he's in charge of executing that. So, it made sense retrospectively that he would be so insistent upon finding what was under everything.
All I'm saying is that I'm CEO bitch to me doesn't have to be... It doesn't have to be for the girl lacrosse captain. I'm CEO bitch is anybody who looks at a 21-year-old who says, I invented this great thing. And they go, isn't that great? And of course we want you on our board and we want your ideas further and we want to have like a relationship with you. But now you can go the f*** home because we're the pros from Dover. We know what the f*** we're doing with this thing and you're finished.
Okay, and I don't want to take their time with this. Yeah. But do you think that do we run the risk of people saying, wait a second, am I supposed to, feel empathy for a guy who, he may not be taken seriously, but surely somebody cut him a check, and he's 21 and he's got a few $1 million in his pocket. I'm supposed to feel empathy because the big guys weren't taking him seriously? I could definitely feel empathy for a guy who got, really wronged by a girl.
But he did get wronged by a girl. If you look at the first scene, the last thing
He didn't. Sean did.
It was very exacting, very open. We all felt free to query and question anything that was nagging at us, which is really nice. But no, it was fascinating to be in a room with Aaron and David and trying to gain a perspective of how the next 80 days were going to be and kind of try and figure that out, which was impossible to decipher, but it was a fun game to play.
Whenever there's something that might be a damage to his ego, just splash it right on. It's like quickly put out that fire. Of course not. I don't like rowers, giant, strong Rippling bicep.
The third and fourth days of filming, we filmed the first scene of the movie, and it was probably the greatest experience I've ever had as an actor up until that time.
And just when she says, we're not dating anymore, I'm sorry, is this a joke? Really, everything needs to stop, and I need to really focus on this for a second, and I really need to understand what it is you just said. And it doesn't have to be fast. I mean, you want to be on top of it, but speed-wise, you can modulate that down, so it's like, oh, take it easy. Because that's almost more annoying. When somebody goes, take it easy, you go, oh, they care. It's like, whoa, take it easy.
Oh, it's like patronizing.
And it's not intentional, it's just like, you're hysterical. You know, it's like you just want to go, no, but I'm going to be. Give me 5 seconds.
It was really, for me, like kind of finding who the guy is who I'm going to be playing for the next few months. And unfortunately, on this movie, I haven't had that same great feeling of discovery and creativity. That was really like the peak.
This is serious.
I was hoping that kind of would sustain, but I realized there's no other scene in the movie that lends itself to that kind of satisfying acting experience, because it's a unique scene. It's the opening of the movie, and it's 10 pages, and it introduces Zuckerberg. So there was nothing that I had to account for leading up to it, except for what I wanted to bring into it.
Rooney, you can really wind up on, yes, there is. That can be extremely pointed so that it really makes him go, I have to stop and note that for a second. That seems like another kind of communication, more than just words, which is really where I'm sort of more comfortable in. Just like this whole riptide thing is making me a little freaked out. And also, I like the fact that you're never loud. I just feel like the last thing, if you're an asshole, it should be almost the quietest thing that you say in it. So it's like, I'm going to leave you a little secret about yourself, but you should remember next time you look at yourself in the mirror, and that is, the only reason that you're here to begin with is that there are times when the shit that he says is sort of funny and interesting. And he is sort of funny and interesting, and he is damaged goods, but it's also like, you know what? I'm done making this work. Here we go, Ann. Back.
Did you know there are more people with genius IQs living in China than there are people of any kind living in the United States?
That can't possibly be true.
It is.
What would account for that?
Well, first, there's an awful lot of people living in China, but here's my question. How do you distinguish yourself in a population of people who all got 1,600 on their SATs? As an actor, I prefer to do scenes like that every day. I mean, I really feel stupid when I go home and all I did all day was like walk from one building to another. Maybe because I used to do a lot of plays, and when you do a play, you do the whole thing, so you go home at night kind of with a sense of accomplishment that on movies, often you don't have that same sense of accomplishment because, you spent the day picking up a knife and the shot was on your hand. But that scene really you felt sated at the end of the day.
Cut. It wasn't like he was really going to finish eating, but he had to sort of put everything in place. So it's this thing of like, I'm going to take a drink, except now I hate beer and I'll never drink beer.
Right, exactly.
Because you've ruined it for me. I hope you're happy. Here we go.
Let's have you have one table over there and 2 tables over here. And you have one table over there and 2 tables. Everyone who's wearing glasses, come on in. Get some beers. We get 2 beers here. And make sure they drink their beers. Not tugging it. I saw them drink the beer, but make sure they really drink it.
We should do one with these guys where everybody talks. And again, they shouldn't get too hysterical. Okay, so let's do one like that.
The last rehearsal was really good. The previous rehearsal, a bunch of you started a cheer, like a game or something like that. Refrain from that. Do not do that. We don't have any sports games going on, okay? But everything else is good.
Yeah, the first take we did, David let all the people in the bar speak. So that was another reason it was so satisfying, is because he tried to create a sense of realism beyond what movies logistically warrant by having all the extras in the scene speak at full volume and be saying things that you would have to account for as an editor that are not period things, or not things that you'd say in Boston, or not things that people who go to Harvard say.
Sometimes you say 2 things at once. I'm not sure which one I'm supposed to be aiming at.
You've seen guys who row crew, right?
No.
Okay, well, they're bigger than me. They're world-class athletes. And a second ago you said you like guys who row crew, so I assumed you admit one.
Well, I guess I just meant I like the idea of it, the way a girl likes a cowboy.
For me and Rooney, it lent this great sense of, at its most base level, having to speak at a high volume, but at a more psychological level of feeling like you're actually in this bar and feeling like you're actually kind of yelling at this girl who's breaking up with you, and it's confusing, and you're hearing other people talk, and that's confusing too. And all that stuff kind of adds to the full experience of it. And we did it 99 times. We didn't do it 100 times for some reason. He didn't want to do it one more time just to hit 100. But yeah, I loved it. Every time I've done a movie, I'm like, how are we only doing 6 takes of this?
Well, the only thing we have left tonight is the close-ups.
And then what?
And that's it for tonight. And then
tomorrow we'll
do the POV of the door guy.
But we're done with the dialogue, really? After tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting through it pretty fast.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
It's kind of scary because as an actor, you always want it to be new and fresh and to feel spontaneous and real. And you're like, well, God, like after 10 times, how is it possibly going to feel spontaneous? But like it really, even at take 99, we were like, let's do one more. Like it never felt stale. It always felt really fresh. And I think that's because we were getting so many notes.
Try to help him along.
Okay.
Try to help him have a good time.
Okay.
And is it anybody or everybody? Is it the Final Club that's easiest to get into, the one where...
Anybody.
Anybody. Yeah, I think you're saying everybody.
Okay.
There was going to be no improvisation on this. You can't do that with this kind of script. It's just a little too dense and language-oriented. There's got to be a precision of language while casualizing the language.
Yeah.
What is that supposed to mean?
Wait, take it easy.
What is it supposed to mean?
Erica, the reason we're able to sit here and drink is because you used to sleep with the door guy.
Okay. You know that opening scene? We shot both of our coverage at the same time.
Tilt up.
You kind of have to do that with Sorkin's dialogue because there's a lot of overlap and it's happening really fast.
Come on.
I have to go study.
You don't have to study. You don't have to study. Let's just talk.
I can't.
Why?
Because it's exhausting.
You slammed it around.
I'm leaving. I just want to say thank you so much. I'll see you in LA. Good luck with everything. Thank you.
Only 99. We did it frugally. All right, get some sleep.
Thanks.
We knew that getting the right cast was going to be crucial, that all the characters in this movie are very young, so we weren't going to be able to hire anybody with a couple of decades experience. It meant we were going to have to hire the best young actors that there were. And because it was a David Fincher movie, there were no shortage of volunteers.
Well, I'll tell you what. That's a handsome cast.
I feel like this is good. I just feel like simple and it dates it a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like just him. And in terms of book bag, do you feel like this one?
I'm fine with that. Just make it look a little more worn in. Take a sander to it. Some French fries.
I read the script, but it was given to me confidentially because I think they wanted me to audition with one of Aaron's other scripts, like The West Wing or something. They were having preliminary auditions like that, and I didn't want to do that because I thought it would be not in like my interest to do that. I don't think I would like come off well, and I thought I could do the part well, but I never thought they would cast me for this because it's such a big, wonderful movie. And then they let me audition with the pages, and I just made a tape in a few hours with my sister, and then I thought the tape was terrible, so I just forgot about it. And then I found out like 2 days later, like they wanted me to fly to California to meet with David.
You come up to find a place where you can purge, and then and be careful not to use too many hand gestures to frame what it is. This is all about the head.
Okay.
This is all about what the head sees. And watch the coming off the wall. So like, it's more like, boom, he's here and he's
stop speech.
Yeah, and kind of give the information without looking at him. So that then when he says, "I can't feel my legs," I know. It's like that.
Right, because I didn't read this.
Yeah, that is exactly it.
Okay. The character is very bright, very introverted, which often appears as disinterested or kind of dismissive of those he's with, but his own mind is just working in a different way, whether it be more quickly than the people he's speaking with or just thinking about other things. He's distracted, but not in a way that hurts him. He's just distracted because he's so focused on things other than what's happening right in front of him. People want to go on the internet and check out their friends, so why can't I offer a f***ing shit? Why not? Yeah, so why not build? Sorry, David. Sorry. Yeah, I've watched everything that's available to watch. I've seen every picture that's taken of him. But it's weird when I get onto the set, that all seems to be irrelevant because you're focusing so much on the scene and the story, and that seems to always take precedence. So I had plans of how I'm going to set my jaw and how I'm going to speak and all this stuff, and you get it in there a lot, but those little, they're called like externalities in acting school. Those sometimes just get in the way and they're not helpful to the story, and it's just showy in the wrong way. And also, David, when we were doing the rehearsals, I kept asking him, can I dye my hair red? Can I have this, and he would always answer me in his usual way, which is just imagine what it's like to be 20 years old and have created this thing. And then it always came back to the stuff that I wanted to focus on, which is, what's kind of driving him internally. It probably was a diversity thing, but so what?
Okay, and I want to make that so.
You're so cold, you don't want to move, because when you move, the
Sure.
air moves.
Yeah, no, that's
and then
nice.
it's like, look, it sounds really good.
Yeah, right.
And then when you're here, he says, it probably was a diversity thing, so what? And it's like, okay, I don't really know how to feel. I'll feel differently about this, I'm sure, 5 years from now.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
I don't mind the cold, right? Because Eisenberg doesn't feel anything.
Yeah, he doesn't feel anything.
One of the first scenes we filmed in Boston was where I come up with the idea for Facebook and I'm explaining it to Eduardo outside, and we were actually filming it in freezing New England, and it just lent so much to it.
Holy shit, it is cold. That's great.
Keep your warm boots and stuff on. We're gonna do a walkthrough. Okay. Oh, you need ridiculous hats. So.
What do you mean ridiculous? I look good in this shot. Right?
No,
You're making me look cool, right?
Yeah.
I've got it.
I think it's really terrible.
In a fantastic way.
Epic. It's epically terrible.
Hey!
What are the 3 lies? Mr. Dowd.
The first, shit. I was preparing to expose the entirety of my body to whoever was on set that night.
Mr. Savrin.
1. Harvard was founded in 1636, not 1638. 2. Harvard was not founded by John Harvard. 3. That is not John Harvard.
Who is it?
Friend of the sculptor, Daniel Chester French.
You can keep your jacket on.
Cut, moving on.
Cut.
It was also like one of my first days, my first night shooting, so I was, I'm just gonna, yeah, everything, I'm fine, I can do this fully naked, I could, whatever, like, I'll do it standing on my head. But then David, he was very kind. Maybe he could see in my eyes the fear that was kind of like betraying my external attempt at feeling okay with the situation.
He's going to keep his clothes on.
Yeah, they're going to be...
Oh, really? He let me off very, very easily. I think I had my tie off, and that was it.
I think your tie is on the ground.
Oh, that's so humiliating.
Yeah. No, I mean, you drop something. Your bra. Your bra would be gone.
The energy was kind of low amongst us. Like, it didn't feel like a frat party. It didn't feel fun. But there was the guy at the end of the row who had to puke up, and that was constantly funny. Even after David's 150th take, that was still an Aaron Sorkin gem.
Yeah, well, I don't think he should throw up for that long. Okay, we're getting to throw up like that, and that's what's kind of taking our eye.
Don't go as low. That last one. Really? No. No, just throw up. That's the joke.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Cut, very nice.
I had no idea how much rowing could kick your ass. I mean, it's the hardest thing I've ever had to do physically. We worked with Don Regan out of the Loyola Marymount Boathouse down in Marina del Rey about 4 or 5 days a week prior to production, and just had our asses kicked every day. I mean, Josh less so than myself, he was an actual rower at Dartmouth, but I jumped into this and I'm like, yeah, it's all about just using your arms, right? Yeah, I can row, sure, why not? I got out there and the rowing coach was like, you're not in shape. You might be in shape, but you're not in rowing shape. And I quickly found out that that is a totally different thing.
Army, try to loosen up your grip a little bit more. We're already wanting to pull. We're already in this.
From here?
Yes.
Okay.
Army picked up things very, very quickly. And rowing is a deceivingly difficult sport. To me, it's the quintessential team sport. There is no room for being out of sync with each other. It requires you to be just so focused, so in the moment, which is like acting.
Second unit was definitely a difficult shoot to get through. We'd show up out on the Charles River at 5:30 almost every morning, and it's 30 degrees and we're trying to row in the cold, and we're sitting in the water waiting for 45 minutes for the sun to come through the clouds so we can get one perfect shot.
The craziest part about it was having this rig on a boat that completely changes the way that the boat naturally moves. So much of rowing is feel. It's such a finesse sport. And so what happens once you put this rig on the boat, suddenly all of that run is gone. So it was like deadlifting over and over again, because you take a stroke and by the time you get back up to the catch, the boat's almost stopped again.
And act.
Hey! We're now ready 20 minutes! Mark Zuckerberg stole our website. It's been live for 36 hours.
Boston was like the greatest experience of my life, because when you're on a location somewhere, it's easy to indulge in the movie, which is what I like to do. I think a lot of actors like to, because you're kind of in it all day and emotionally in it all day, and then you don't want to really leave that place. We would be in the spirit of the movie all the time. Even when we had some hours off or something, we'd stay on the set.
Can't show this.
There's not really snow in Los Angeles.
We're in Boston, man. We're not in Los Angeles. Come on, everybody's gonna know.
When we were in Boston, it was like we'd wake up and we would be the only people we would know. And then when we came back to LA, I was miserable. Andrew has a girlfriend here, and so he wouldn't spend every minute with me. And some of the other guys know other people here and have friends and agents here, and they didn't want to spend that much time with me. Yeah, LA, it's kind of a little annoying because LA is just like a movie town.
Now, there's no room for error on this. You're too low and you're too far over. You need to be up a little bit, you need to be back a little bit.
What's great is that David seems to just make films that he wants to see himself and for his own sensibilities, and that's all you can do, because as soon as you try to cater to anything outside of your own satisfaction, then you become a slave in a way, I guess.
Cut!
I still can't wrap my mind around him. He's such a unique guy. He speaks in such thoughtful and often esoteric ways that it's a little confusing at first. But I came to really appreciate this person who thought about what you're doing in the scene as much or more than you, and it's your job. And I think probably everybody on set can say that. He's probably thought about their job as much or more than them.
When Jesse crosses over, you make a little bit of an adjustment back.
Are you feeling some decision making on my part?
Well, I'm feeling indecision.
You just watch.
And it's both intimidating and comforting. Intimidating because you feel like you're working for somebody who probably could maybe do it better than you. Like, I think he could do my part better than me.
Welcome to
At the same time, it's also comforting because I know that when I do something that maybe I didn't feel was exactly right, he would have a better sense than I would about what needs to be. The only scene I dreaded was when we go to Palo Alto for the first time and we're like jumping off the house.
All right, summer fun. Here we go. Total jackassery. You're enjoying yourself doing knuckle-headed, chuckle-butted nonsense.
The reason I dreaded it was because I didn't see how it fit into Zuckerberg's psyche.
Ready?
Okay, here we are.
Last one,
That'll be
and
fun.
action.
Because I think it originally was scripted to open where Mark's on the top of the house, screaming and excited and everything. And for all the thoughts I've had about Zuckerberg, I couldn't picture him doing that, and I couldn't picture myself as him doing that because it seemed too happy for him. And then luckily when we got to the set, they changed the blocking, and I didn't have to be doing that. Okay. So have I jumped into the water?
No, you're just
filming
videotaping.
the whole
You're just
time.
videotaping. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's also somebody goes, quick, let's get a picture. Okay, everyone, smile. Let's have a fake moment where we memorialize all the fun that we weren't having.
You mean I'm doing that?
Yeah, tiny bit. It's just a little bit of well, let's make sure we get this so we can remember those.
Oh, we can remember that
early-
we did have actual fun.
Yeah.
I had pretty clear ideas for what Zuckerberg would be during the movie, and I just didn't like him being happy because it just didn't seem to come from that. And then you watch videos of him, and he's sometimes very happy. He occasionally releases videos, and then there's interviews that he's done, most notably the 60 Minutes. It's very useful to have those kind of videos, and I have his voice in my iPod, so I can take the iPod to the set and have his voice in. But, when they call action, that stuff becomes kind of less relevant.
Cut it. Good, reset. Reset.
Good job.
Resetting. This will be a bit of a reset.
This conversation, upon meeting these guys, he doesn't know where, we don't know where Sean Parker and Sean Fanning begin and end. He doesn't know where Mark Zuckerberg and Eduardo Saverin end and begin. Right. So he's there to go, I'm fans of what it is you guys do. By the end of the night, he's able to go, I'm fans of what, it was nice to meet you. Right. You know what I mean? It was nice to meet all of you, but it was really nice to meet you.
Here we go.
1:15, take 6.
He's 25 minutes late. Founded Napster when he was 19. He can be late.
He's not a god.
What is he?
He's 25 minutes late.
Sean Parker is the co-founder of Napster. He's the mistress, so to speak. He is the driving force that comes in between two best friends.
You must be Eduardo and Christy and Mark. Great to meet you.
He doesn't come in without merit. He comes in with some experience that the other fellas don't have. And so I think that's why he has the ability to stir the pot.
This is telling about Napster, and then we'll go back into you on I didn't want to spend my 20s as a professional defendant.
I brought down the record companies with Napster, and Case will suffer for their sins too.
The irony there is just fascinating that Justin is playing Sean Parker, considering he's playing a guy who was one of the creators of Napster, which kind of in a way destroyed the music industry.
You didn't bring down the record companies, they won.
You want to buy a Tower Records, Eduardo?
I don't.
Cut, reset.
The scripted items are leopard pork, lobster claws, and this tuna tartare.
Everyone got a chance to mess about because there was this montage-y kind of thing that David did, which allowed Brenda, Jesse, Sean, and myself to just try and one-up each other in terms of making each other laugh or, just screw each other up. And the dynamics that were happening were really fun.
Look at here. Oh yeah, these are the scallops. These are really good. Really good. Watch her glass there. She's done this one. Eduardo, you probably can. We're gonna take these.
Cut it. Cut. I'm gonna drink yours.
I don't think that Sean Parker, as he's written in the script, is conniving, but I do think he's calculated. I do think that he knows how to communicate a certain way to certain people.
Drop the. Just Facebook. It's cleaner.
And I think he has an ease about him that Mark or Eduardo don't. And I think that's why he is so attractive to Jesse's character, Mark.
I would recommend that anybody read Shakespeare, but more than that, I would recommend that you see it. These things are meant to be performed, and the music analogy is apt. I don't think any composer would want you sitting there just looking at the sheet music saying, oh, I can picture this or hear this in my head, this is interesting. But they want you to hear the best musicians, the best singers performing that stuff.
The greatest act of anarchy is not to be the guy outside the walls throwing Molotov cocktails or spray painting outside the palace walls. If you're the ultimate act of anarchy is you're in the king's suite, you're in the Pope's
quarters with spray paint, with a can of Krylon.
This time you're gonna hand him a business card that says, "I'm CEO, bitch." That's what I want for you.
The one thing that I think is really, really important is that his ego does not allow him to sublimate himself to anyone. That's Mark Zuckerberg's hubris. That's why Sean can never sell the thing as, you need to get rid of Eduardo, you need to get me. Because the second he does that, Mark Zuckerberg's gonna go, we're done.
I agree with everything that you're saying, but I'm CEO, bitch, is the church that they both go to.
The seed is planted, terror grows.
Well said.
They have Facebook at Cambridge?
And apparently Oxford and the London School of Economics. That's where her friends are.
As an actor, we love to play characters. That's hopefully why we got into this business. So it was like, you not only get to do a Fincher movie, but you get to work on 2 separate characters in a Fincher movie. So as an actor, that's a wet dream. You can't beat that. Who's letting people in on the magic, man? The actual process of filming it has been incredible. It's been more work than I've ever had to do.
And now I am asking you for the 100th time, let's take the considerable resources at our disposal and sue him in federal court.
But, thankfully I had Josh Pence there with me the whole time, and we really worked together to create the perfect characters and, the differences between the two, and I definitely couldn't have done it by myself.
The distinction between the two of them? I think Cameron's definitely the more affable of the two, would make more of an effort to kind of come up and shake your hand and say, hi, how are you, and put you at ease. Whereas Tyler, what we came up with was just a little more laid back, observing more. If you like him, if you don't, it's really no skin off his back.
Here, now we're in the doorway, looking back. Just walk over this. Just walk over. Just like, boom. Thank you. Super high five.
Thank you. And then especially what's interesting too is you've got this triumvirate, because we have Divya and then Cameron and Tyler. So a lot of times in the script, Tyler and Divya are sort of, paired up together in terms of, they're on one side of the fence and Cameron's on the other.
You know what? Screw it. Let's gut this nerd.
I don't think it's like good twin, evil twin, but it definitely gives them 2 sides of the coin.
Background and action.
We got to work with this guy Cameron Thor early on, and we kind of went through a lot of just the physical stuff, what we could do to make us similar but at the same time different.
Yeah. Cameron Winklevoss.
Hi.
Tyler Winklevoss.
Are you guys related?
It's good.
Fine.
Yeah, we never heard that before.
A big difference is maybe stillness. And that's something as an actor that's just really fun to play with. When you choose to move, when you choose to really be still.
And cut it. Save that one. Cutting. And Army, keep moving. Put weight on your left foot so you pull it out. And then at the end.
Before pre-production, actually, I was auditioning. I watched Dead Ringers. And Jeremy Irons is amazing. And one thing that he talked about in an interview that I read was the way that he could tell the difference between the 2 characters is where he put the weight on his feet. One of the brothers, he'd have his weight back on his heels. If he was the other, he'd be a little more forward on the balls of his feet. Kind of the guy that's a little more in your face and forward. So, we tried to work on some of that stuff. But yeah, obviously a big challenge is having that be like a really subtle difference. In Dead Ringers, there was times when I couldn't tell which person he was. And I think that identical twins are like that a lot of the time.
You want to watch it again?
No.
Hey.
Don't lie. You like watching me.
It's like to watch a movie. It's so graceful. You Mark Zuckerberg?
I mean, it was interesting to watch Army go back and forth from the characters, and Josh as well, because Josh is a phenomenal actor. He's not going to be seen in the movie, but he deserves a lot of credit because it was very helpful to have somebody who was really good working with you, and also was probably not the most thankful position to be in. I mean, he's the most beautiful man in the world. He'll have a fine life, and I'm sure get many acting jobs, but maybe this did have occasional frustrations.
Hey man, sorry. A couple of girls are freshening up in there.
Sweet.
At the same time, I don't pity him for a second. He'll be fine. He can go cry over sex.
151 Baker, take 1. Speed.
And out.
This is where they filmed Towering Inferno?
That's comforting.
Hey guys, come on back.
Oh! There you go. Let's see you guys on this mark for the check handoff. Yep, go ahead and dress it in.
I think Aaron has joked about, how exciting can a bunch of people sitting around talking into computer screens be? But when you add to that Fincher's acceleration of the film, the fact that it moves like an F1 race, that it's kind of like watching a very, very enjoyable car crash happen before your very eyes, because I think it's a brutal film about ambition.
Mark?
He's wired in.
Excuse me?
He's wired in.
Is he?
Yes.
Bang.
You planned a story about the chicken.
You have to come out of this meltdown of
It's gonna be funny either way, isn't it? It's
that you don't have any.
I haven't
but it has to be based on something that's not.
No,
fun.
no,
But it's based on. It's
absolutely.
like, how could you?
Yeah,
I'm
no,
so
that
angry
was,
and
that
so
was
hurt.
where the betrayal began.
So
That was-
angry and so hurt at the same time, both barrels.
Well, what the hell's the chicken? And I bet I'll bet you hate
I think obviously the nature of betrayal, being betrayed by your brother, which is how I see the relationship with Mark. That's the universal theme for me. It's man's inhumanity to man. It's Cain and Abel, and I found that was enough. That was the core to really explore the destruction that someone can do to you, and having the opportunity to fight, to not allow that destruction to take over your life, and to find a bravery and a strength and a self-worth in amongst someone telling you that you're worth less than nothing. That is something very, very powerful and strong to try to play.
He sums it on the desk?
Yeah. I have a little metal plate.
Oh, okay.
Go on.
Oh,
there
wow.
it is.
Okay.
So I have a little protective steel plate that goes under here that helps
Okay.
destroy this.
After he does that, am I consumed with that my computer was just broken or not?
No.
This is bigger.
This is the inevitable.
Right. Okay.
Come to Jesus.
Okay.
I'm not trying to do an Eduardo Saverin impression. Oh my gosh, I would never dream of being so arrogant as to say that this is who this guy was. There's not much information out there about him that's easily accessible. And after trying to for a while, I realized that it doesn't matter.
Andrew, I'm going to have you go another 4 inches to your left.
I have as much information as I have, and obviously I want him, wherever he may be, if he sees the film, if his friends see the film, if his family sees the film, I don't want to have anything but a positive effect on his life. I have no bad intention towards him or towards any of the real people. It's a very tender thing dealing with someone's existence in this way.
You're gonna blame me because you were the business head of the company and you made a bad deal with your own company?
I was just trying to be as honest to myself, like putting myself in those shoes and using all of whatever it is that makes me human to try and live this very, very traumatic period of his life.
I know you're trying to save me from myself, which is what I hate. Idiot. Don't try to save me from yourself. Here we go.
But a lot of times the takes that David says he likes are the ones where I feel like I didn't do anything on. And it's frustrating because you're trained to do otherwise. You know, you're trained to kind of like, I mean, not only trained, but you feel sated as an actor when you feel like you've done something and when you've had some kind of emotional experience, you know, and if possible, some kind of cathartic experience even, which is rare. But the takes that the director seemed most happy with, I kind of felt like I didn't have that feeling. I didn't have that kind of, that little like orgasm, so to speak, you get as an actor when you feel like, you connected in some way. And I didn't have that, and he would like that. And then when I'd have that, he'd say, less with the eyebrows or something. So it was kind of an often frustrating experience and, often contrary to kind of what you plan to do as an actor in general.
So the water goes this, and then he says, oh, well, now he's not, now it's oblique, and these are glancing blows.
Mark, what is this?
What?
This.
It's called a cease and desist letter. What were their names?
Who?
The girls.
When did you get this?
About 10 days ago, right after I launched the site.
Why didn't you show this to me?
It was addressed to me.
They're saying that we stole the Facebook from Divya Narendra and the Winklevi.
I know what it says.
Did we?
Did we what?
Don't screw around with me now. Look at me. The letter says we could face legal action.
No, it says I could face legal action.
I think there's a very important thing going on here, which is we and I.
We were in this room, and I mean, no one likes being in a deposition room, period. But then you're in it all day, every day for weeks doing the same scenes over and over. So it was like being in a sensory deprivation chamber that was just made to torture you.
There's points where you're like about to go insane because you're seeing the same room over and over again for like 10 days or whatever it was. It seemed like 10 days.
It definitely was challenging. But I think that probably those depositions are a little bit like that. I mean, this is a really heightened version of that because it's been weeks as opposed to hours. But like, I think that people get really tired and the testimony is really emotional and it's definitely exhausting to watch, but it's also exciting. The shooting process itself feels like an extensive rehearsal process because it's really involved and they really let you do it a bunch of times until it feels like part of your skin.
Within one take, without cutting, we would do it 30 times, like a monologue. And I thought, I'm not doing well if we have to do it so many times, and that kind of put me on edge a little bit. I'm in the middle of 2 different lawsuits.
Did you answer affirmatively? When Tyler and Cameron Winklevoss and Divya Narendra asked you to build Harbor Connection, did you say yes?
I said I'd help.
Good. Once again. And Jesse, try currently in the middle. Just clarify with him.
Okay.
Here we go. And don't actually eat your skin. You can chew it, but just don't eat it. Here we go. And action.
You know, it's arduous and it's exhausting, but I think that there's sort of a brilliant design behind it in a way. It forces you out of your head. You almost don't have time to think. You know, between takes, he'll give you a note, and it's just like you got to go right back into it. And eventually, you've done it so many times that it's like by take 45, you're so tired that you're not even thinking about it, and that's where you should be.
But it's nice, you know, because you're with a director who likes to do that many takes, and he's very much a perfectionist. So if he doesn't think it's right, he's going to keep going until he gets what he wants, which is, as an actor, the most comforting thing you can hear. You know, I feel very protected in this.
There's two things that I think are really advantageous to doing a lot of takes. One is it takes the pressure off of the individual take, you know, because I never felt like the pressure was on me to get it right away, because there was an understanding on the part of the 100 people working on the movie, which sometimes is a lot of pressure that 100 people are spending their time so that you can kind of get it right. The pressure never was on me because everybody knew that we'd be doing a lot of takes, so I never felt personally responsible for the time that was being used. And then the main thing is you could try different things, and you didn't worry that they'd only have those two options and they'd have to choose one, and they both kind of weren't hitting the mark. I really like it. I mean, I have a lot of insecurity about performing, so the more times you get to do it, the more times you get a chance to do it right. I still, after 100 takes of something, I still don't feel like I got it how I wanted it to be, but I don't think maybe I'll ever feel that way. Maybe that's okay, and I have to deal that with Dr. Goldsmith, my therapist. But you want to feel like you had the greatest opportunity to do it right.
It's bliss for an actor to have that feeling that you're able to f up. You need that in order to find whatever it is that you're looking for that you have no idea of. You know, that unknown thing that you can't ever consciously create.
Did he offer terms?
Yes, he said we'd split the company 70-30, 70 for him, 30 for me. And he named me CFO.
And you said?
I said, let's do it.
Great. Once again, Jesse, slide an inch to your right. There. And action.